Hey nerds, welcome to episode 72 of the Nerd Rundown podcast. Coming up this week on the show, Darren and I talk about how Warner Brothers and DC get everything together and are now a huge success. Hang on, I'm actually being told that it's still a shit show. Well, in the meantime, Keanu Reeves is returning in Constantine. Star Wars pushes back Rogue Squadron. Darren has the warm feels for some Avengers news, and find out what on the trailer train turns my stomach. Ready, hit it!
Hey nerds, welcome to another episode of the Nerd Rundown podcast, where we cover the latest in the nerd world of movies, TV, and more. I'm Darren Stemple, and you know my co-pilot, Eric Hare.
Greetings, fellow kids.
You can find, and adults.
And adults.
You can find us on our social media like Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, all at the Nerd Rundown. And while you're there, please hit the like and subscribe buttons, leave a comment. I'm going to keep calling you guys out, even you audio only people. If you take a moment out of your day, up on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't, leave a comment or a nerd box question. Got a really good one from Meg later on today.
Yeah.
And then per usual, you can find us on all the major podcast services. What a big rundown last week as we covered D23. This week's a little bit more of a calmer rundown. So not huge news stories, but definitely ones that worth us covering here on the rundown. First one, we got news this week, Eric. Exciting news for some people, I'm sure. Me, yes, as I'm a Keanu Reeves fan, not necessarily Constantine fan, but Constantine from 2005 is getting its sequel starring Keanu Reeves. What are your thoughts on the big number one news rundown item of the week, if that's not a sign for things?
Well, I loved the first one. I really did. I thought it was great. I'm surprised it's taken this long to do a sequel, I guess. Or are we doing a soft reboot, or how are we?
It's saying it's a sequel.
Yeah.
And they had the HBO's or the Warner Brothers or HBO Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
they had a TV series for a bit, which
they had a TV series. Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's been up in the air whether that was going to be renewed or not. With all the new stuff going on at Warner Brothers Discovery, which we'll also talk about later on.
Yeah.
This is the thing that they greenlit right now.
Yeah. Well, I think it might be. Okay. So I think they probably looked at Top Gun and said, you know what? It's been like 40 some years since they made Top Gun. We could roll Keanu Reeves back out for one more go, you know?
Yeah.
Keanu's in great
so
shape.
Good for the Matrix, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah.
I do like Akiva Goldsman has been tapped to write it. He's got some really great credits to his mind, to his good credits to his name, Beautiful Mind, and I Am Legend, to name a couple.
Right.
So that's good news. No idea who's going to be directing it yet, but I'm sorry, Francis Lawrence. So the guy who did I Am Legend as well is going to direct it. Oh, I didn't see that till just now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I Am Legend is a classic. I mean, that's a great film. So, so that it's got good. Sounds like it's got good bones to it. So,
no word on returning cast like Shia LaBeouf, Rachel Weisz, Tilda Swinton, Digimon Hansu, one of the great voices of our generation.
Yeah.
And Michelle Monaghan. So those are some of the main names from that
Michelle
first
Monaghan.
one. Yeah. Or Moynihan.
I think it's Moynihan, but yeah.
I think it's Monaghan.
Sure. Might be.
No. Two Aries. Who's gonna be right?
We'll see. Yeah, I mean, like I said, the first movie was great. I really enjoyed it. did not hit like I think they'd hoped it would hit. And I think that's all, it's another it's another casket in the graveyard of failed comic book movies before Iron Man.
Yeah. That's a really, from that like 2003 to 2007 era of comic book movies.
Yeah.
You could throw a whole crap ton of them in there.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So
and they just never flew for one reason or another. And that's one that I think there was a lot of people that didn't know it was a comic book movie. Like I think there was a ton of people that didn't even know that it was a comic book movie, and they still didn't go see it. Because a lot of times they'll be like, "It's a comic book movie, I'm not going to watch that." But back in that day, back in that time, it was like definitely not going to see it. But I don't even think they, maybe they during the trailers or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. But I thought it was a great movie. I really did. And that was Keanu Reeves really kind of rocking stuff, and I think that may have kind of slowed his career down a little bit, if you will, because he had a string of hits and hits and hits, and then that kind of slowed it down for him. So
he had his own Vanilla Sky era.
He did, yeah. So.
Well, let us. It's a niche audience that likes Constantine. So if you're one of those Constantine nerds out there, let us know in the comments if you're excited for the return of Keanu Reeves in the Constantine role. Next on the rundown, we have Star Wars movie news. So last week we covered D23. We got no news about any Star Wars movies, and really the only movie that's pretty much in the works that we know about is the Rogue Squadron movie, which that has now been taken off the Disney Star Wars movie schedule.
Patty Jenkins is slated to lead that one. Mm-hmm.
And that one's had its own set of drama along with it. Patty Jenkins was directing it, and then she wasn't. Now she is, and now it's off the movie slate. So we get word that there are 2 movie dates that Disney has reserved for Star Wars movies.
Right.
No idea what they are.
Right.
Don't know if they're part of Taika Waititi's in development Star Wars movie, which he joked during the Thor Love and Thunder tour that may never get made. And then Kevin Feige himself is developing a Star Wars movie with writer Michael Waldron, who wrote Loki and Doctor Strange. So hit and a miss, but interesting news. Are we going to get a Star Wars movie anytime soon, Eric? And should they just stick to Disney Plus series with Andor coming out this week? Very excited.
No, I to answer the last bit of that question, no, I don't think so. Star Wars, as much as I like the stuff that they have on the small screen, how much I'm enjoying. Well, let's just limit it to The Mandalorian at this point. So The Mandalorian has been really good. Boba Fett was not great. Yeah, it was not great. And
boy, that episode 5 though of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, season 2.5 of The Mandalorian, where we only got one episode, was pretty good. Yeah, I and then we had the Obi-Wan, which we've talked about before. So not going to rehash that one. So far, the small screen has not been really great either. I mean, other than The Mandalorian, there really has not been all that great. So Star Wars needs to be told on the big screen.
Okay.
It does well for long format stuff as well. So you can tell stories, like that. I think on the small screen, you can tell those stories, but the spectacle of Star Wars needs to be on the big screen, and you need to tell stories on that massive scale. And there are plenty of stories to tell in that environment and in that universe that can fill 2 hours, 2.5 hours. They don't need to be trilogies. They can be single, like the Rogue Squadron or whatever that's going to be. I think that sounds like a fun idea. Let's learn more about Rogue Squadron and what that came up with. So there are tons of things and tons of stuff in the Star Wars universe that you can see. But what do you think? What do you think of where it is right now.
I am very happy and content with Star Wars sticking to small screen. However, when Star Wars, the magic of Star Wars in theaters is almost unrivaled. So if they hit on the magic of Star Wars in the theater, I'm all for Star Wars on the big screen.
Yeah.
But man, but the first 2 episodes of Boba Fett were great, but then after that, till episode 5, I enjoyed Obi-Wan. I am so pumped for Andor. I'm so pumped for Mandalorian season 3.
Right.
I can't get enough of Star Wars on the small screen.
We should do a show, because I want to talk about, and this is something I meant to talk about in the group chat that we have. I wanted to bring up, before the Mandalorian season 3 comes up, I think we should do like a pre-show for that, where to kind of get everybody hyped up. Yeah. And one of the things I want to talk about, because I rewatched the movie the other night, the movie Serenity. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
Yes.
And then the series that goes along with it, Firefly, that came before it. So did you ever watch that?
That honestly could be one of my answers for. So,
okay.
No.
Okay.
But
yep.
I love Nathan Fillion.
Yep.
Liked Joss Whedon back in the day.
Sure.
Turns out he's a creep, but
yeah.
I know the nerdum out there for that.
Yeah. Franchise. Well, it just is interesting because there's a tremendous amount of parallels between Nathan Fillion's Space Cowboy and The Mandalorian. Like there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that kind of parallels there pretty well. So I think it'd be fun to do a pre-show on The Mandalorian before we get like a hype show or something like that for Mandalorian. So
absolutely, yeah. I'm down. I'd almost do that tonight if we could, because I can't get enough Mandalorian. That's just it. That's when I talk about the magic of Star Wars, and it is the Mando is up there with the best of it.
Who I should see back in for that show is Uncle Frank. Let's see if we can get Uncle Frank on for a pre-Mando show. I'll see.
That'd be great. I'd love don't take this the wrong way, Uncle Frank, a matured Star Wars opinion, somebody who's a little bit older than us that got to experience being in those lines in 1977.
Yeah.
As a a young man, that would be great.
Yeah.
Experienced Star Wars fan, I should say. Maybe
seasoned.
That's a better.
He's a seasoned.
Seasoned. That's perfect. So looking forward to more Star Wars, whether it's small screen or big screen, I guess is the takeaway there. Next on the rundown, we get some news from Marvel Studios that they have they have tapped the writer of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Jeff Loveness, to write the story and script for Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, which is the first of the Avengers movies in the
same year.
In the same year, right. Phase 6. Yeah.
Right.
So, great. I think this is great on a couple levels. One, he's writing Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is getting a ton of buzz. I cannot wait to see more of that.
Yeah.
And it's the big debut.
I was going to say, isn't that supposedly when Kang makes his official
Evil King will make his debut in that movie? And so somebody who, you think about the Marcus and McFeely duo. They wrote Captain America, the Captain America trilogy, and then they wrote Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame. So that's why the Captain America character. It's one of the reasons why the Captain America character is the heart of the MCU.
Right.
Because he had consistent writers writing him consistently throughout the process.
Right.
And he was always just a solid character. So getting somebody who has the experience of writing Kang, getting a lot of buzz, great idea. Eric, any additional thoughts on that? You seem pretty excited as well.
Yeah, no, I really don't, because I don't really have any, I like the continuity that they're doing, and like you talked about, I think it's good. I think that if you have a guy who's introducing that particular villain, and then have him write the, I wouldn't say the finale of it, or we don't really know what that's going to look like, but yeah. So I think it's great. I think it's good that they've pinned him to get it, to get the role, and like I said, have that consistency across, the universe, I guess, or MCU universe is going to be pretty great. So yeah.
Sorry, kind of stole all the thunder on that one.
No, you're good.
I had you start, but here's another point. So when you think about, okay, there's in those two Avengers movies, you have the King Dynasty and you have Secret Wars, and Secret Wars closes out Phase 6, which also closes out the multiverse saga.
Right.
How much does King lead into, or the King Dynasty lead into Secret Wars, and then does Secret Wars set up the next phase of Marvel? So a lot of people are starting to think that the next big phase of Marvel is going to be the mutant saga, which would be really cool. Maybe Secret Invasion is one of those things that leads up to the next saga, and they actually do a whole saga around the Kree Skrull War or the Skrull invasion. So
yeah,
I'm very excited for all things Marvel Studios, even though some of it's been kind of a letdown lately. At least when you know about the big overall arching story that comes with the Avengers, that stuff's gonna rock and roll.
Right. Yeah, we'll see.
Part of Feige's master plan to just like have that continuity. You nailed it. That's the word.
Yeah. So I guess the next thing is Sony movies. So talking about pushing stuff back, we talked about Disney pushing Star Wars back. Sony's next one is they've started to switch around some stuff also, and maybe they kind of dropped the Spider-Man 4 release date. I'm not like what happened there. Like what's
So we've talked in the past about how Sony owns the Spider-Man universe or the characters, and they have the deal with Marvel Studios to include Spider-Man in their slate of movies.
Right.
But Marvel Studios can't market Spider-Man. So they can't, like, when they're announcing all these movies, they can't say we've got a Spider-Man movie coming. So Sony's got to fit into their boxes at some point and somehow. Sure. And they've got a couple of movies coming up. Kraven the Hunter and Madam Web, both are in production right now. They've been pushed. Kraven the Hunter is now coming out October 6th of 2023. So we're almost about a year away from that.
Yeah.
And then the Madam Web movie, which has gotten intriguing news recently.
Casting wise,
starring Dakota Fanning,
right,
and Bill's
Bill's. We'll just leave it there. It's Bill's
Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, Bill's Sydney Sweeney. So
Sydney Sweeney. He does not have dominion over Sydney Sweeney, but he would be great if he did. Anyway, so Madam Web is heading to the theaters now in February of 2024, almost around Valentine's Day, February 16th, which means that
those are not too far apart from each other when you really think about it. On October and February is, 5 months, 4 months, something like that.
Right. And again, are those tying into MCU? We don't know. The Venom stuff really hasn't. Maybe a little bit there at the end of Venom 2.
Carnage.
Yep, Carnage. But then they have this July 12th, 2024 date secured for an untitled Sony Marvel Universe movie. That pretty much tells you it's going to be Spider-Man 4.
Yeah.
Because they got to keep making them too. That's another thing. So
right, because if they don't, they lose the rights to him, don't they? If they don't make them.
Yeah, that's how it usually works. And so it's inevitable that we would get a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Didn't know when. I think we now know. We'll see.
Thankfully, he's an eternal child. So whatever, he could still play young Peter Parker, and because he must be. I think what's happened. I think what's happened is Paul Rudd has shared his secret of immortality with.
He dripped his blood on him.
Hey, we're doing this Captain America movie together, Civil
Yeah.
War. If you drink this every single morning, you know, whatever that is, I'm not sure. It's some
Like
sort of
that.
secret potion.
Like
So,
Benjamin Button's the reverse, so he's like kind of a reverse Benjamin Button, but he always just stays a kid. Or it's no, Jack was still an old guy.
it's the
Robin Williams movie.
the blood
Can't
of
think about an analogy.
I've slaughtered a unicorn, and as long as you drink this blood, you'll have immortality, forever young.
Forever young.
Yeah.
Also a good Mel Gibson movie.
Oh yeah, it is.
Next on the rundown, back to the Warner Brothers camp, Eric. So a few weeks ago, a little bit more than that, maybe we talked about Warner Brothers. They found their films boss. They found their Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
David Lin. Actually, turns out that was probably a good pick. He was a franchise producer, many franchises under his belt.
Yeah.
Apparently,
we were actually pretty happy with it.
Yeah, we were, and looking forward to DC maybe having their own Feige, and then that didn't last even a month. They didn't even get the deal done, actually.
Yeah.
And now there's news out of some insiders that are saying everybody's really, really, really upset with David Zaslav, who is the head of Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
He's the guy that's been putting the axe on all these projects lately. Do we see massive trouble for Warner Brothers?
Like, is there a coup?
Yeah.
Is there a coup d'etat happening in there, or a slow coup of some sort, to take over, and put the hands. It just is the continued dysfunction of Warner Brothers, and it's almost like a black hole where it sucks everything into it and crushes it, and that's basically what's happening here. So, whatever, Zaslav, it sounds like Zaslav, I don't know how to pronounce it fully, but David Zaslav, but
perfect. You're perfect.
He strikes me as a guy who's a radical change type person. He sees the disaster that is Warner Brothers, and he's like, hey, you guys can't keep doing this. You can't keep making this other stuff. And the people who, it's almost like the Blazing Saddles scene with the governor, so you've got him where he says, we've got to protect our phony baloney jobs, guys, and he's like, and that's kind of the way I feel. Like you have all these executive producers and people who are at the higher ups inside Warner Brothers, and they're like, this guy can't just roll in here and like take over our jobs, and he can't roll in here and tell us all what to do. He needs to do this or do that. And so I don't know. I don't know what Discovery ownership is going to do. Warner Brothers Discovery ownership is going to do, but it wouldn't hurt my feelings if he just axed all across the top. Like anybody who's like from the major level, like I hate to use a military, but basically everybody that's above the major level, you're gone. like just.
Yeah.
And
major's like mid-management. Actually.
Yeah. So like, that's what I'm saying is like you the lieutenant colonels and up, you're all gone. Because once you go from major to lieutenant colonel, you're basically like you're starting to get into the politician type stuff. So the major guys are still remember what it's like to get dirty, and
that's a really good
so that's I feel him that like that's probably what he needs to do if he's going to survive this whole thing is, just clean house, man. Just clean house, because otherwise these people are just going to sabotage you. Because he's right. His idea is exactly what I've been saying. It's what a lot of people have been saying. You need to have a decade-long plan. You need to have a 10-year-long plan. You need to execute on that plan, or just do individual stories, which is fine. We've said that too. Just do individual stories. But if you want to build an MCU-like thing, you need to be looking 10 years down the line, and you need to find a person that's
you can trust,
and that you can put in charge that's going to have that type of vision, or bring in the people that can have that type of vision and really take you where you need to go. So nothing, we're not saying anything that we haven't said a dozen times before. And I really don't want to talk about this until, I don't want to talk about it again until.
Stop bringing it up in the rundown, Darren.
Yeah. Like, it'll be news. It'll be news
it's
when
like
Warner
a train
Brothers.
wreck. You can't look away.
Yeah, right.
You know?
It is. It is. It's like a train. It's a train.
Drain that swamp is basically what you're saying there, Eric. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll see where Warner Brothers ends up, and we'll just continue watching this train wreck. You can't look away.
Yeah. Speaking of the train.
Speaking of the train.
Nice segue. Dynamite segue.
Dynamite segue. Trailer train starts off with something I know you got a little Loki bony on.
Yes.
Over there for this.
Yes.
Glass Onion. A Knives Out mystery trailer finally released, and it's coming to Netflix and theaters.
I believe
right?
so. Yes. Yep. I believe so. Yep.
Eric, you got your first full trailer for one of your favorite movies of the last few years.
Yes.
Did it live up to your expectations?
Exceeded my expectations tremendously. Like, I hope the movie is half as good as the trailer was, because the trailer was really fun. If for nothing else, the Dave Bautista in a Speedo shooting a Desert Eagle, like, just was worth the
I like
price.
Crazy Ed Norton.
Oh my gosh, Edward,
Goofy Ed, I don't know, comedy Ed Norton. Maybe he seems more like
he's a
comedy.
I think he's a very comedic person. I've seen him in other stuff in a very comedic role, and he's really, really great. Cast looks amazing, as good as the last cast. I mean, the last cast was really heavy with a lot of really storied and classic season. Thank you. We'll bring that word. We're gonna put that in the bank. We're just using seasons quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, the original cast was really, really great, and I feel like this one is on the younger side, but still much. Still, there's quite a bit of acting, because Edward Norton. I mean, the dude, his chops are out there. His acting chops. He might be one of the most underrated actors in all of Hollywood. I think him and what's the guy that played Justin Hammer?
Rockwell, Sam Rockwell. One of my all-time faves.
Yeah,
one of my all-time faves.
Like, and I know people struggle with Edward Norton because of his. I think he's a method actor, and I think a lot of people just struggle with his how he is, but you can't say anything. His Primal Fear.
Every performance.
But
name a bad performance by Ed Norton. It may be in a bad movie.
Right. But he's not your reason that the movie was bad. So Kate Hudson, Dave. I already talked about Dave Bautista. Yeah, Ethan Hawke, Catherine Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr. And a couple
Hahn looks fantastic in this.
A couple of kind of newcomers ish, I guess. Kind of on the younger side. Janelle Monáe, Jessica Henwick, and Madeline Klein, I think, round out the cast. And as I'm not going to talk about the guy's name who wrote and directed this because of some trauma that surrounds another franchise. Anyhow,
that's it.
Ryan Johnson. Yeah, I know. He I just can't wait for this. The trailer looked great. I have no idea what the mystery is going to be. And then, of course, Daniel Craig coming back as Benoit Blanc, and just that Southern Kentucky Fried Detective that he's got going. So he just, oh my gosh, he's so good.
So good.
Yeah.
You know what, Ryan Johnson, love everything Ryan Johnson outside of Star Wars.
Yeah.
If he's not doing Star Wars, I'll watch him.
And I think one of the things we didn't talk about with the Knives Out, because we didn't do the show. We weren't doing the show, I think, when Knives Out came out, were we? I think we were doing it. I think it came out before.
I think it was 2 years ago, wasn't it? Came out.
Yeah. So, The
It has to be.
the cinematography in it and the set pieces and the way it's filmed, amazing. Just
Yeah.
amazing. And this trailer feels the very same. Like there's some very beautiful art pieces in here, and just, oh man. And I'm telling you, Kate Hudson, wow,
Yeah. So good.
So
And
yeah.
you know what? The original Knives Out gave us Ana de Armas,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
thank goodness for that,
Yeah.
because she's been a treat. But also, it gave us a chance to see Chris Evans in a different role than we are used to seeing.
For sure.
And maybe they're choosing another, Marvel vet and Ed Norton to play that same similar role, that where it's like sets him up to be the bad guy, but
Yeah.
he's also one of the scene chewing stealers of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Anyway, very,
I'm.
very excited.
This is gonna be.
October
It's a holiday. Holidays. When is it? Do we have a date?
comes out sometime.
You are correct, sir. It does come out sometime.
I know.
We have a
It's coming right here on your viewing screen.
November 20. Actually, December 23rd, 2022 on Netflix.
It just says 2022. Do you have an actual date?
Yeah, I have December.
Google literally just says 2020.
Yeah, so they've got it in. It'll be in theaters in November 2022.
Okay.
Hits Netflix streaming December 23rd, 2022. So,
Wow, Google, get your act together.
yeah,
That's funny. Anyway,
yeah. I think it premiered the 10th at the Toronto Film Festival. They had their first viewing of it September 10th. But
oh man, it's getting close. I know that. We'll be talking about it more as it gets closer, for sure.
It's next already got a 89% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, and see, mine says 88%.
Yeah,
crazy. Crazy how there's two different numbers there within seconds of each other.
Yeah.
Somebody just put a review up, I guess that means. Anyway, next on the train, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. We get a teaser for the Disney Plus series coming out.
Yeah.
Wasn't very excited about this until I found out that the kid from the Ryan Reynolds movie, the recent Ryan Reynolds movie, and of course now I'm
the one where he comes back in time.
Walker Scoble is the actor's name.
Yeah,
and he was maybe the best part of that. Gosh, what is the name of that movie? Let's see if Google.
I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, it's Atom Project. Yep.
Wonderful movie.
It was really good.
And that kid was adorable in that movie.
Yeah,
so good. So to see him get his own Disney Plus series, he was probably already pinned for that.
Yeah.
When that came out, however, people are recognizing this kid's talent and they put him in the Percy Jackson role. So I think that this is the kind of series that is going to thrive on Disney Plus. It's
tailor made for it. It's tailor
made for it.
It's a book series.
It came out during the craze of Harry Potter. So
yeah.
It got washed under that sea. And now under Disney Plus, long form storytelling, it's gonna thrive.
Yeah. Well, and I know that it doesn't get the same notoriety that Harry Potter got from the theatrical perspective and worldwide bonanza. Yeah. But that book series was exceptionally well received. It just didn't fly when they made the movie. They tried to make a movie out of it, and they wanted to make a series of movies just like Harry Potter, and it just didn't work. 2? Yeah, I think they did 2 of them, and it just didn't work. So, as we've seen in the past, book series really do well. We just saw the Terminal List, from Amazon Prime, and we've seen other Tom Clancy stuff that's book, not necessarily book related, but but books seem to transition better over to TV series. Game of Thrones, for example,
Big time.
is
Big
another
time.
one where the book series translate better to a smaller screen, longer format, 10 episode arcs. You can tell a book fairly close to the source material in 10 hours. You can cut out some stuff, but you can still stay fairly true to the source material. And frankly, watching this trailer, the first thing that crossed my mind was, this is dark. Like the trailer is somewhat dark and sinister, where it's like a warning. Like,
I thought
hey,
it's funny. I had that same thought.
Don't come down this path that I've gone down. Don't go down this path, because it's hard. It's a really difficult path. And so I was a little surprised at the dark tone, the dark undertones, at least in the teaser, because it really was more of a teaser than a trailer for it. So, but I am actually very interested to see this, and I think this might be, depending. I definitely, I think we'll watch this with the kids. I think this will be something that they might find interesting.
It kind of goes back to something we said last week. Fantasy nerds are eating good lately.
Yeah.
And this goes right into that category. If this is as good as it seems like it will be, we got some great fantasy series coming to our small screens. So
yeah.
But speaking of the big screen, we got a trailer for Babylon, starring Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie. Just totally drew a brain fart, but Tobey Maguire, holy cow.
Yeah.
Podcast brain just hits you whenever it wants. And actually got a really great scene from Tobey Maguire cursing in the trailer.
Yeah.
I got done with this trailer and I had the exact same thought that Meg had.
I was trying to find the quote from her, but yeah.
It's basically, wow, everybody is so beautiful in this trailer. Everybody looks so good that you could watch it with sound off and it still looks good. So what do you think of the trailer for Babylon?
Frankly, it made me uncomfortable. It really did. It made me uncomfortable, and not in like a positive way. Like I looked at that and I thought to myself, good Lord, this is the hedonism and decadence of Hollywood, and the
that's a really good point.
And it to me, it was revolting. Like it was not, it was not something that I found appealing at all. I really didn't. So I'm not sure what this movie doesn't hold anything for me. It's not for me. It's not made for my, it's not made for my taste. The performances during the trailer seemed great. Tobey Maguire, like you said, was funny, and Brad Pitt, of course, and Margot Robbie are tremendous, talented people. But this story, I think
there's two camps to this, and I think because of what the trailer is, it doesn't give any story detail.
Right.
Basically, no idea what this is. It's showing the grossness of Hollywood.
Right.
And you're either going to be okay with that or you're not going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Until they give you something more about what the movie is, how can you have any other reaction?
Right.
To that. So great point, Eric. That's a really great point. I maybe I'm just desensitized to Hollywood and how gross they are, and that's what I expect things to be like. So I wasn't taken aback by it, but I can understand. I can put myself in your shoes for your thought process for sure.
Yeah. I don't know which trailer, and this is funny. It's coming up with the next one.
Yeah,
I'm not sure which trailer actually made me more grossed out. Like that's how bad that was.
I know exactly which one, because that's a good segue to the next trailer is Dahmer. The last name of the serial killer, Jeffrey Dahmer, played what looks to be very brilliant,
disturbingly
brilliant. Evan Peters, who us Marvel fans would know him from Marvel movie or the X-Men movies as Quicksilver, and he was in WandaVision recently. He's also a mainstay in the FX horror show. It's like a different story every year. Anyway, he's really picked up a lot of steam recently, and he looks like he could like be nominated for his performance. The way he grosses me out throughout this trailer.
Oh yeah,
and the fact that it's a true story. I know Banana is gonna be wanting to watch this.
Yeah,
American Horror Story. Thank you.
Yep.
I know Banana's gonna want to be.
I was gonna say Meg is probably yelling at the speakers right now. It's American Horror Story, you morons!
You morons! Yes, exactly. Thank you, Meg, for yelling. I can hear you from here.
We can hear you yelling through the.
Yeah. So Banana's gonna want to watch this starting night one. I know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think Stacy
whatever she really likes this serial killer stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I really just gross. Really just gross. It did give me the heebie-jeebies because we talked about it a little bit before the show. I find serial killers, I mean, as I think most people do, a special type of crazy, like, I mean, just to hunt, there are people out who are like mob guys, or cartel guys, and they kill people for their job, but it's usually somebody giving them an order that, hey, this person is standing in my way of doing something. And so there's still, I can understand it, like I can understand what they're doing. I don't understand, the urge to hunt another human being like that. I just, and it's just terrifying. And then to dismember and eat them, that's a whole another level of crazy. And his experience in prison, I think, kind of showed that even among the criminal underworld, there's a special, I think, like with child molesters and
rapists.
Yeah, there's a hierarchy that exists, within the prison system, and when you're a
justice
cannibal
system within the prison system.
Yes, there is. When you're a cannibal and a pedophile, I think you pretty much fall at the very, very bottom of that list. So I will tell you that the bright spot for me in the entire trailer was Niecy Nash, who is I think she is playing the next door neighbor or something like that. And I adore her. I just think she's as cute as she can possibly be. She has a show coming. If you haven't watched it, she was on Reno 911. I don't know if you've ever watched any of that or whatever, but but she
that's who that is. Okay,
she was hilarious.
I was like trying to figure that out.
But yeah,
she's so funny. Yeah,
she really is. So but she also is on a show. I watched that show, The Rookie, with Nathan Fillion. And
this is getting a spinoff.
Yeah, and she's getting her own spinoff, which I think is already debuted. If it hasn't already, it's coming out. So check. I think it's on ABC. It's called The Rookie. Feds. I think it's called Feds. And so she's just, like I said, she's great. She's just adorable, really, and she's endearing, and she's so talented. You just can't. She's irresistible. Like, to me, I look at her and I think, gosh, you're just irresistible. Like, I love seeing her. So
good segue then. To somebody else who is incredibly talented and irresistible.
Yes.
The voice of our generation is what this trailer is telling us, and maybe debatable, maybe not, but the big thing in movies right now that's not Marvel related is music biopics.
Yeah.
And Whitney Houston is getting her biopic, I Want to Dance with Somebody. I'll just pass it off to you real quick, and then I'll get my thoughts.
Well, arguably still the greatest national anthem of all time. At the Super Bowl during the Gulf War, the first Gulf War, her rendition of the national anthem. I don't think there's anybody that has ever done it better and will ever do it better. There's great renditions, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of them out there. But as far as in my lifetime, I'll be blessed if I see somebody singing as well as she did, because then I'll have seen the two of the best performances, because she just was amazing.
Yeah.
And she is another person that you couldn't help, just beautiful. I mean, just an absolutely beautiful woman, a beautiful voice, and seemed to be like, I'm a big Kevin Costner fan, and Kevin Costner adored her, and so for me that's good enough. Like
Right.
if his opinion of her was as high as it was, and it was, I mean, he spoke at her funeral. That's good enough for me. She was an incredible woman, and she was incredibly talented, and we're lucky to have had her for the time that we did. Obviously the tragic ending of her life, and taken away from us sooner than we would have liked, is terrible. But I'm actually,
a lot of these biopics are like that.
I mean, that's just music, the music. I don't know if it's the music industry or the people that are involved in the music or whatever. It just seems to be, the lifestyle or whatever that you kind of get into. But it's got to be hard. It's got to be difficult. I mean, you can't have that many people just get chewed up by it, and not think somehow that it messes with you. And Hollywood's kind of the same thing. I think you see a lot of that with like actors and stuff like that, where Hollywood just uses, especially child actors, where they'll suck it in and then they just chew them up and spit them out, and So
well,
what do you think?
What I'm really interested in, and great point about the national anthem. I actually went and watched that performance on YouTube after watching this trailer, and she actually nails every single way she raises her fist and her second fist, and she's got Whitney had that, like, when she was really singing her butt off, her jaw would almost shake. And she even nailed that. The actress, who's playing her? What's her name? It's Naomi Aki, who I don't know. But
I don't think I've seen her in anything.
Fantastic in this, and really does her justice, to as probably best as she probably could, because nobody's gonna match Whitney's voice,
right?
And with these biopics, you think about, when watching them, there's always like a signature performance for the artist that they really showcase. And if you think about Queen, it was we will rock you. We will walk you at Wembley Stadium.
I was going to say that whole Wembley Stadium concert itself, was just,
or maybe it was We Are the Champions. Either way, it was the whole concert really was the signature event. And when you think about Whitney, she's got a few. The national anthem, that looks like it's going to be a big signature event. And her performance in The Bodyguard, with one of the greatest songs of all time, or the greatest covers of a song, because
I was going to say, because that was a Dolly Parton song before.
I Will Always Love You. They really kept The Bodyguard piece of the movie out of this trailer. There was one scene I recognized, and maybe there was more, but it's her sitting in like a business suit for the music video for I Want to Dance with Somebody, and she's sitting there singing it in the beginning of that music video. So that was the only thing that I saw from The Bodyguard. So I'm hoping that they highlight that movie heavily in the movie, because I love that movie so much. Kevin Costner is such a badass in that movie. Man, and he's I'm
wondering if the majority of this covers probably her early 80s, and 90s time period. So but I don't know. We'll see how it looks, because
when was The Bodyguard released? 92?
It was in the 90s, but her big time period was the 80s, when she did I want to dance with somebody, and
which is one of my all-time dance dance. If you want to get a stem to dance, you're not going to have to try hard, if you put on I Want to Dance with Somebody.
I was trying to think what other hits she had that she was out there, because
How Will I Know?
How Will I Know? That was a good one. Oh my gosh, that was a really good one.
Those are her top three. But
well,
she's also gotten
what's his name? Stanley Tucci
Oh yeah, he's Stanley Tucci. Looks
looked
fantastic.
tremendous in this as Clive Davis. So he looked really, really great. I mean, it's Stanley Tucci. So
he's gonna
another guy who's he's a character actor that it just breaks my heart again that you can't get a guy like him to be like a lead. Like he
doesn't work in that role, I don't think.
Yeah, he doesn't, but he's the guy that carries the football like 60 yards and then your star runs it across the line, and that's like it's crazy.
He does the majority of the work of the movie,
like he does the majority of the work.
Absolutely. It might be one of the best ways of describing greatness from somebody.
Like character actors like
that is so
literally
perfect.
Carry the movie.
Yeah.
And then your star comes and gets the touchdown. He's like, I'm good looking because I have a full head of hair. It's like
that should be a presents list one day. Like who are the best like character actors like that who aren't ever the lead role, but they are the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
That's a really good thing. Anyway, I wanted to answer somebody. Whitney Houston biopic.
Yep.
Looking forward to that, as I'm a big Whitney fan, especially lately. She covered Steve Winwood's song back in the day, and they released it within the last few years as like a remix of it.
Yeah.
And why can't I think of that? One of my banger dance songs as well. You put that on, I'm going to be dancing.
Right. Yeah.
Meg, I can hear you yelling at me. It's okay. Keep. All right. Anyway, good segue there to Meg Bradbury in the Nerd Box. Yep. She writes in, is there a nerdum you want to get more invested in, but haven't had the time to, or feel you missed the boat? I would like to hear your answer first, Eric.
This is actually a really hard question.
Okay.
Because
real quick, we should read Meg's answer, which was Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And we did yell at Meg last week for not watching Game of Thrones, and apparently she hasn't listened to us yet. So
yeah,
we'll see if we can talk Meg into Game of Thrones someday.
Yeah. Well, she needs to watch it because, and we've tried to tell her that, with this House of the Dragon series, you really don't.
You could start with that.
You could really start with this and not be, and really you're fine, because this really does not tie, other than anecdotally here and there,
right?
And historically it ties into the show, but nothing's at this point, because everything in the Game of Thrones series, the original series, takes place 150 some years, 200 years later, so I mean, how much of 150, 200 years ago counts towards your life, which is not much probably. But,
so much. No?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, what's crazy is it will, we're 4 episodes in, it will have lasting effects that we will see by the end of the series, but it doesn't mean that like, okay, you have to wait till the end of this series to catch up. You can start now, watch, and still watch Game of Thrones, and it won't ruin anything for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was your answer for this? Watch Game of Thrones, Meg.
Yeah. Watch Game of Thrones. I don't know. Like, it's kind of funny because it's kind of a toss up. I have 2 that I have thought about,
Okay.
And one goes back more to my childhood, and one is more recent.
Okay.
And so the childhood one is Dungeons and Dragons. Like when I was a kid, only the nerds did Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and that was prior to my coming out as I'm watching my Star Trek movies and TV shows. I'm like, man, those Dungeons and Dragon nerds just there's just too much. So, so that's a bridge too far for me. Like I can't do that.
I get it.
But I always thought that would be kind of cool. That would be something to get into, because I do enjoy watching the Dungeons and Dragons element of the Stranger Things universe. I think that's pretty neat. So I would say that would be an older fandom that I would like to kind of dig into, but
Okay.
it's too intimidating at this point. Just it's too much. The next one is
right.
the next one is, and I know this is kind of silly,
I know
but
what that means. I know what
like
you mean by that.
Breaking Bad. Like
Okay.
I know everybody has watched the series and they're like, oh, you gotta watch Breaking Bad, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
And like I watched the first episode with my wife, and I was like, I can't do this. Like I don't like I just couldn't get into it. I
Yeah.
watched the first episode. She fell asleep in like the first 10 minutes of this thing, and I was like, all right. But I know that there's like, there's some cool stuff, because I love to use some of the memes from the show. So I mean, I know some of it, but that's
Goddamn
again,
right.
yeah, exactly that one. I use that one all the
Yeah,
time.
all the time.
Goddamn right.
That's such a good answer. And I relate to that so much because but Anna and I did watch Breaking Bad. And we watched it. I think it was either right after the show had ended and we caught up on it, or it was like right before the last season.
Yeah.
But we watched it and we were like, yeah, it was good. But everybody's puts it as like their all-time show. And
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I need to watch it again with a different perspective. But
Yeah.
I missed the boat on that by like just not getting it, not by like, oh darn it, like
Right. You know what's funny is
there's not my answer, but yeah,
there's probably another one that you and I both have, and Meg actually called us out on it a couple of weeks ago, which was Scrubs. Scrubs is another one where I look at it and I go, man, that seems daunting.
You got it. I guess it was good.
Yeah, because I mean, there's like a lot. There's a lot in that.
Yeah.
So
that's also a good one.
Yeah.
And if you had to guess, what would you think is my answer?
Well, I know it's not going to be the one that you sent out earlier. I don't think.
Meg sent that question, and I was like, "Yep, definitely Star Trek."
I don't even know, man. I really don't.
Okay. I thought you might be able to guess this.
All right. Is it Minecraft? Is it It's Minecraft, isn't it?
No, it's not Minecraft. Maybe the one reason why I'm glad I didn't have a point is
oh my gosh.
Worry about Minecraft.
Well, both my kids are like Minecraft nuts.
I will say many of the hosts on the show love this.
Many.
Actually, I feel like Morgan said this was his answer as well. I feel like Morgan's seen these. He's in my Breaking Bad situation.
Do tell, sir. Do tell.
Harry Potter.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean, this is when I'm like, and watched. I've recently, within the last year, watched the first two movies.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And it has felt like if maybe I watched this from the during the high tide of it, I would get this more. But I was like, it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, I haven't been dying to watch the next one.
I'll tell you. As a Harry Potter,
I know I could really get like a lot of hate for this, and I don't want to, but it's
as a Harry Potter
I'll watch him
fan,
at some point.
Yeah, as a Harry Potter fan, the first two books were okay. They were okay books, and the movies translate that same. And I think it's because the author was learning how to write as she's putting this stuff together. So the first two books are relatively easy to read. The movies translate that way as well, and you have child actors. These kids are 10 or 11 years old, and so it's hard to get. Christopher Columbus does a great job of in both those movies of getting those kids to perform the way they did, because it's really hard to get kids to perform, and the kids were dynamite. In the second movie, you have Lucius Malfoy played by what's his name? He was in he was gosh, I can't think. Anyhow, he
Podcast brain.
yeah, at the end of the movie there, he, spoiler alert, he says something to Harry Potter, he says, hopefully you'll,
What's that, like mean ugly kid?
you'll
Not ugly,
be
but
you'll be around.
fun
It's
kid?
his dad. It's his dad. He says hopefully you'll be around to save the day. And Daniel Radcliffe looks at him and he says, "Don't worry, I will be." And or something along those lines. And
Oh,
the
Jason
guy,
Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs, yeah.
One of the all-time
and
greats.
and Jason Isaacs in the behind the scenes was like, the first time he delivered that line to me, he says, I literally got chills down my spine. He says the kid was so good even at that age. He was so good, and he says it just was chilling to hear him say that line back to me. But the third movie and the third book, they hooked me into the series. They really did. The third book hooked me into the series. Watching the third movie, I feel, is the same thing, because Alfonso Cuarón shoots the third movie, and it is
directs it or shoots it.
He
Is it
directs it.
cinematographer?
Yeah, sorry, he directs it, but the cinematography in it is different. The tone of the movie is different. Everything about it is different, and I really think that that's when the series takes off and really becomes. And the book series is the same way. She nails that book. J.K. Rowling just nails that book, and it's off to the races after that.
Yeah.
4 is a little bit of a dense one. There's a lot of pieces that are moving around, and it puts a lot of things in motion. But then 5, 6, and 7, those books are tremendous. And the 7th book, they even split into 2 movies. So the first movie of that series is a little dry, but it's great.
So I'll keep going, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, get the third movie is going to blow you away. I really think, I don't want to hype it up too much, but I think that I think that you will really love it. I think you'll see the maturation of the kids, and the storyline, and then, like I said, the cinematography and the storytelling is much better. And gosh, if you can't love Alan Rickman as Severus Snape in that movie, it's just so good.
Jason Isaacs, I love Jason Isaacs.
Yeah, Jason Isaacs. The whole cast is just tremendous.
He had a small part, but man, he was so good in Armageddon. He's a really smart guy.
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah. So I think those are a couple good answers, and very much would like to know more people's answer to this question. So get on YouTube, leave us a comment. What nerdum did you miss out on, or did you feel like you missed the boat because either it's like too daunting, like I don't think I can watch 5 seasons of 20 episodes or whatever. Eric, Morg's answer to this has to be, and I will not accept another answer, it has to be Lost. Until he watches Lost,
I don't
accept any other answer from him.
Although I did like your text earlier. You said that the one you were most intimidated by was Star Trek. So
I'm super intimidated. I don't want to start with Star Trek 1.
It's great. It's great to finally hear you admit that. Captain Dunsel and Bryant Castillo will be happy to hear that. So
it's just I just don't know. I got through 2 Chris Prim's movies, and that was I love that first Chris Prime movie, but it is one of those things where I just don't know if I can do it, especially with like the TNG and all those old shows. Those old 70s Star Trek shows. I can't do it. I will accept whatever punishment you give me, Eric. So let's go talk some Hot D. House of the Dragon, episode 4.
Yeah.
5. What was the name?
Episode 5.
It was episode 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is episode 5. Yep. And now it's what was it called? Gosh, I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, we'll figure it out before we get on the episode.
Yeah.
And give you guys a good recap of that. We're very excited to be talking about this show. Let us know your thoughts on the show. Catch up if you can. Again, if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, it's not needed.
It's not
To
necessary.
start this. It
Yep.
helps a little bit knowing that all the craziness of the different houses and all of the stuff that goes on, but
Right.
it's not needed. So
Yep.
looking forward to maybe catching up on Game of Thrones one day.
Yeah, for sure. So,
Eric, love you, brother. Let's go talk some hot tea.
see ya. Bye.
That being said, we'll see you next week on the Nerd Rundown.